Hey, what's up guys? My name's Ezekiel the Barber. I have a new YouTube video for you, pretty excited about it. Now this client likes his haircut with a 1.5 plastic clip with the grain. There's a lot of clips out there, but we just choose to use a plastic clip in this case, and then we'll use a closed clipper on the side, which is almost equivalent to like a stubble bald fade. Yeah, so let's get into this haircut and I'll show you how I did it. So as with every haircut, I like to start by combing everything out. This kind of loosens up the hair, gets the debris out, makes it easier for the blade to be able to cut through the hair. Now with this particular haircut, I'll be using a Sterling 4 wall clipper. Really good clipper, definitely one that I like to keep in my arsenal. Here it is. So this is the Sterling 4 wall clipper. So I'll start using this clipper all the way closed, which means that lever is all the way closed, which is going to give you like a stubbly bald look, sort of like what you're seeing now. Now this is not fully bald. This is what we call a stubble bald. So this is like a 3-0. This is the equivalent to a 3-0 metal clip if you're a barber and you know about cutting hair. If not, this is not going to give you necessarily that super bald look. If that's what you're looking for, I would say definitely use your trimmers. There's alternatives for a closer cut for sure. Now the idea here is to basically use that triple, that stubble look. We want that all the way around. So we want to create some consistency, and you just want to make even guidelines all the way around. That's basically what we're looking to do here, is clean guidelines. Now we want to do this from left to right as well as the back, and the objective is to make everything as even as possible. Now getting around the ears, I like to pull that ear back. A lot of times you can cut people's ear right in this area. So I like to pull that ear really good just to be able to get around that. So I'll continue setting this guideline. Once again, the objective here is just to get everything as smooth and as even from left to right as well as the back as we possibly can. This is going to ensure that the fade is that much cleaner. Now we'll do this process once again from left to right as well as the back. I'm going over it a few times just to make sure everything is really clean before I set my next guideline and go into the next step in the fade. Now I really like to continue to comb the hair. I like to use a comb instead of a brush. Comb is a lot cleaner. It's easier to clean, keeps less bacteria, germs, funguses, what have you. So that's why it's better to use a comb than a brush, but sometimes that brush just gets the dirt and the hair out that some combs just can't. So I see why some people use it, but for the majority of the time I like to use a comb. Keep those hairs out of there, keep everything brushed out. Keep a clean palette when you cut. It just keeps everything clean. It shows you where your progress is, where you have more work to do and what have you. So I'm going over the next step in the fading process. This is a 1.5 guard. We'll use this on top. So it's the 1.5 plastic guard. And I'll also be using the 5-star Wall Senior. I love this clipper, excellent clipper. Now the Sterling 4 clipper is a much quieter clipper to me, but in terms of like power and strength, you really need something to kind of get through these hairs sometimes to get an even cut the first time. Take care, man. This is really one of the stronger cordless clippers out there. That's why I love this clipper so much. Now this is a 1.5 guard on top, and I'm going over this really good north, south, east, and west. My goal is to really make everything as even as possible, because this is basically another guideline. So this guideline, all my guidelines, I want to be really even, everything really thorough. So I basically want to go north, south, east, and west and cut everything as evenly as I possibly can. Now as you can see, this 5-star cordless clipper is really going to work. I mean, it's tearing this hair down, no problem at all. That's why I definitely love this clipper in my arsenal. And once again, my main goal here is to just make sure that everything is cut as evenly as possible. Hair grows from every direction, so you basically want to cut from every direction, north, south, east, and west. When I first designed this YouTube channel, I basically wanted to give the viewer a real feel for how the barbershop flow goes. Now I really didn't want to add a bunch of fast-forwarded clips. I wanted to show you all kind of the real stroke. What's up, brother? Hey now. Now I'll go over this a few more times just to get everything even. In the meantime, I'll just let you enjoy some of this good music before we go to our next step. Okay, cool. So here we are with the next step. This is gonna be basically our third guideline. We had our first guideline where we did the stubble ball, then we did our second guideline where we used a 1.5 guard on top. So now this second guideline is exactly where you see me using this. This is basically an open clipper. So I just took this wall clipper, opened the lever all the way, and set my next guideline from the first guideline, which was the triple lot on the bottom. Now I like to set this guideline anywhere from about, I'd say 1/4 to a 1/2 inch, as you can see here. And so we'll set this guideline nice and smooth from left to right. And you want to make sure you go over those guidelines a few times just to make sure that everything is nice and clean. Okay, great. So we put our next guideline in. Now we have to fade that guideline in. The way I was always taught is once you make a guideline, such as in this case, attack the bottom line. And the bottom line is once I created my guideline, you saw a hard line at the bottom of that guideline. And then my main job here is to basically erase that line before I create my next guideline. Now when you're cutting hair, you get guards or clips, metal clips that come with numbers like 1, 2, 3. So you basically want to follow these steps. In this case, I'm using the 1 guard. And once again, as I told you earlier in the video, I like to do my spacings about anywhere from a 1/4 inch to about a 1/2 inch apart when I set my guidelines. So I'm using this 1 guard about a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch from where I set the previous guideline. Now once I set this guideline, all I want to do is bump out the bottom line from the guideline that I just set. Now in these videos, you all get a chance to see my actual stroke. I like to cut really nice, smooth. Once again, I like to go from left to right. I'll start up and down, but eventually I'll keep brushing that hair down just to kind of see where that hair is growing from, to see which direction I need to cut. So basically I want to cut against the grain if I want everything even in that certain guideline spot, if that makes sense to you. If not, don't worry, eventually it will. So I'll just kind of keep working those areas just to make sure everything blends in. Eventually I'll go and grab the 0 guard. I went from the triple to the 1 guard, so eventually I'll need to go back to the 0 guard just to kind of blend those areas that the 1 guard couldn't. Sometimes it makes it easier. For me, this is just the way I chose to cut his hair. Now, while you're fading, you'll do a combination of putting on your guards, taking off your guards, especially when you're trying to blend from the bottom, 0 where it's stubble, to the top to where it gets darker. In this case, we're using a 1.5 on his top. So the 1 guard that I have, if I open it all the way up, it's close to a 1.5, though it's not a true 1.5, though it does help you blend into that 1.5, which is on the top a lot easier. So right now I basically have the 1 guard all the way open, which I'm telling you is kind of close to the 1.5, but not a true 1.5. But it does help, and it's sometimes a very needed process in blending from 1 into a 1.5, which is on the top. So these dark areas that you see, I have the 1 clip on, and in my head I just want to kind of open and close. The lower I am to the stubble, the more I close my clipper. The higher I am to the 1.5 fade, the more I open my clipper with the 1 guard. Once again, this is at 1.5 guard. Now I just want to go over those dark areas that's transitioning from the side of the head into the top of the head. I just want to use that 1.5 guard to see if it gets any of this dark weight that I see out of there, without taking off more hair than I need to. It's just a safer bet than using the 1 guard all the way open. Because I know that I used the 1.5 on my top, I should be in clear grounds using this on the side as well. And yes, you're right. Okay, next up, I'm using that 1 guard again. Like I told you, you'll go back 2 guards. So I want to use this 1 guard to kind of clean up a little bit lower. I use that 1.5 to go higher on that top in the parietal ridge area. That's near the top of the head. Look that up if you don't know what that means, parietal ridge. It's a really good term. But you want to use that 1 guard to kind of really get in there on the lower spots. Notice I'm using it kind of lower. I'm not really working it into the top of the head. I'm using it in that lower fade zone. I don't want to take that one too high. Another thing that I like to do is go down. I told you that all the hair pretty much grows anyway at once, so you can have some hairs that grow against the grain. When you use this stroke right here, it really cleans the fade up for some reason, and I think it kind of takes care of those essentials. It really gets everything a lot more even. You're cutting it from a different direction. Things look a lot cleaner, a lot smoother. So I've been going the opposite way this whole time. So this way I just want to go down with the 1 guard. Sometimes I'll go to the 0 guard and I'll go down with it. These are different tricks that I've learned along the way that actually help me give more cleaner, efficient fades. Some of the barber secrets, and I'm sure you want to know those, don't you? Come on now. All right, perfect. Now the next clipper that you see me using is the Babulous trimmer. It's the silver and black edition. Really good clipper. I like to use this in terms of balding things out from the bottom, going into that stubble that we created. This just makes everything really fade nice and smooth. So I'm not going too high with this. As you can see, I'm just working around the ears. I'm staying low. I just want to work baldness into that stubble, to where there's just a little stubble in there, and it just makes the fade pop. It makes things a lot cleaner. Now this Babulous trimmer, I like to get all my clippers sharpened. I go to a place in Inglewood, California, a guy named Daryl, a place called the Scissor Clinic. This guy is amazing. I've been going to him for years. Once you get that green tag on your clippers, you know your clippers are set to go. You are ready for work. You're ready to put those sharp lines in, designs. If people want to be, they want those bald fades, you're able to do that once you get them sharpened. So I like to go to Daryl, Scissor Clinic. Shout out to Daryl. So I'll continue to use this clipper to clean everything up. All the little stubble from the neckline, around the ears. You always want to keep the hair off of your client as much as possible. I use my blow dryer to keep a lot of hair and debris off of them. Just want to make sure your client is in good hands at all times. So now we'll start working on the lineup. I like to kind of keep the lineups natural. Once again, I do get my clippers sharpened to really achieve those sharp lineups. That's what the clients really like. If you want those clients coming back, you got to give those good sharp lineups. At least decent lineups. The lineups are kind of a hard part of the game. Now listen, some clients, they don't pay for doing the facial hair and all of that. This client in particular, he doesn't really care about me doing the facial hair for him, though I do like to kind of help him out, throw it in there. No, I'm not doing a whole lot of work here. I'm just helping my man out. I don't want to send my client back out to those streets looking crazy. I'm already doing a pretty good haircut for them, so I might as well just add in these little lines. Now, if he was really paying me for the beard work, I would do a whole lot more. Fading it in, lining it up. Hair might need to be off the bottom. This is just a barber game, brother. I mean, this is just the way it is. My man, basically, he takes care of this on his own. He just really comes in, needs me to do his fade, and that's the barber relationship that I have with this client. Just hook this brother up with a clean fade. I'll take care of the rest myself, bro. For real, I get it. But yeah, man, I mean, every relationship with your clients are going to be different. Every client has different specific needs, and you just want to give them what they want. So right here, I'm just really working out his lineup. He's facing the mirror, though you can't see it right now. I like to face him towards the mirror just to see if everything's nice and even, keep everything nice and clean. Now, you don't really want to dig into your client's hairline, or you don't want to dig into their skin. I talked to a barber a long time ago. He basically told me, cut the hair, not the client. It stuck with me. So you really want to be really easy. I mean, those blades, they do their job. If they're sharp and your clippers are sharpened, that's kind of the importance of getting them sharpened and why barbers do it, because it's not only less work, but you don't have to dig into your client's skin or, you know, create marks and I've seen some clients, woo-wee! I mean, these barbers have really laced some tragedies out there. And that shouldn't be, man. I mean, if you have some really sharp clippers, you have a light touch, you should be able to achieve any haircut, no problem. Once again, this haircut is a 1.5 fade with the grain. This would be considered a mid bulge stubble fade. So if you came into the barbershop, this guy would say, hey man, just give me a 1.5 fade with the grain, which is wavelength. I like to use that 1.5 plastic wall guard to really give me that good wavelength, and it keeps everything dark. Now this client, you know, sometimes he'll take the mid to high fade. That's what this is today. Sometimes he'll take his fade a little lower. It all depends on how he's feeling. That may be another video for sure once he does the lower fade. And we'll show you kind of the difference on how that haircut looks, but very similar in steps. I mean, we're just about done here. We're just trying to dial this client in. Now, for the simple fact that I'm going over his hairline so many times, this is really why you don't want to go digging into people's hairlines, because if you have to go back and fix a certain area, you want to make sure you're able to go back there and there's no marks or anything, almost like you were never there. So you have to be really light, and it doesn't take much for sharp clippers to do their job. I mean, those blades, after all, they're cutting, they're doing their job. You just need to guide them and do yours. So right here I'm using the Wall 100th Anniversary clipper. I really love this clipper. It's not like a samurai sword of the clipper. The blade that they use to make this clipper gives a really soft look, a soft blend. I really love this clipper. That's why it's in my arsenal. Now, none of the clipper companies out there have contacted me to market their clippers. These are just clippers that I chose to go with from years of experience that made sense to me. A lot of people are transitioning now into these cordless clippers. This is definitely one of my favorite cordless clippers to use, especially for my finishing touches on my fade. It's just adding a real soft blend. It's a little bit more error-proof than using a different blade. The blade that they made with this clipper just really, it's just a really good clipper. It's hard to explain unless you use it, but at least you get a chance to kind of see how I'm using it as a finishing touch clipper, pretty much. Now, I do other things with this clipper as well. It's just not a finishing touch clipper, though this is what I use it for the majority of the time that I use it. Now, once again, I told you that I use it for a finishing clipper. I basically have the half guard on here. I'll use the half guard, or I'll use the one guard. It all depends. If I'm on the top of his head like this and I want to get those little prickly sticks off of the top of his hair, I'll just go with the half guard and then just clean it up in the manner that you see me doing it now. Just go with the grain, nice and smooth. Once again, you always want to keep your client cleaned off, hair-free. Use the blow dryer to get rid of any debris. Now I'm just going back over everything, and I've gone over his lineup so many times, you don't see any lines, war wounds. I'm using a really light touch so that, once again, if I go back, I could go back with, no issues. I can always go back and clean it up. To me, there's really no such thing as a perfect haircut out there. I could spend hours and hours trying to perfect this cut, but the truth is, in a barbershop, you only really have about, 30 to 45 minutes on a cut in a really busy shop. Now, for my final finishing clipper, which has always been a favorite from barbers, years in the game, the Andes Master. Now, this is the Andes Master cordless clipper. They use the same exact blade as their classic corded Andes Master clipper. Great clipper right here in terms of really adding finishing touches, the master polishing finishes. Yes, definitely one of the better clippers in the game. Now, I just like to go over everything, make sure everything is clean, smooth, looks like my man's ready to go. He's giving me the approval. Once my clients give me the approval, I'll take a few more minutes to just kind of clean everything up with that Babyliss trimmer. Sometimes I'll use the Andes trimmer. It just all depends. In this case, I'm using the Babyliss trimmer. Just like to clean up all the hairs around the neck area, around the ears. Sometimes the ears have little fuzzies, or they'll have hair in the, right behind the ear. I'll make sure I clean that area. Little survivors, get rid of all the survivors that really aren't supposed to be there. That's essentially what I'm doing here. Just want to make sure you do a really thorough job. Now, in this video, we've covered various steps on how to achieve this type of haircut, this look. Hopefully you've learned something in this video today. One of the things that I like to finish with is the Pro-Line oil sheen. This really adds that shine. It really is good food for your client's hair. Adds that luster to it, especially on waves. A haircut like this, definitely it will insinuate the haircut, make everything pop that much more. Keeps your client's hair in good condition as well. Now at this point, it's time to go. For real, I feel you, brother. Definitely always want to make sure that if your client takes the aftershave, you get them that aftershave. This kind of kills any bacteria, germs, until they go home and clean up that for themselves. But definitely, it's really critical to use that aftershave in areas that you've used the trimmers that really bald people out, especially in the neck area. It gets really irritating. Thanks for watching. Till next time.